In today's video, we are finally installing some LED pod lights and LED light bar in my car. This one is from Nilight. This is their Pro Series. And if you want to real quick get the model number, it's LO3120-A. And this one here is W0820. It's upside down. And then, of course, the wiring harness as well, which is 10008W. These are off of Amazon. These are going to be installed on the 3rd Gen 4Runner, and I'm extremely excited. But before we start getting into the whole installation and everything, let's unbox these and see everything that comes. I know some things that come, but there's always surprises that I wasn't expecting. Sometimes you get more than you expect. On the side, you have your mounting, which is great. Bunch of different, okay, we got some Allen bolts, we got some hex bolts, we got a few different style mountings. I believe that's because you can mount technically on the side or on the back here, which is great. It's 2 bare wires that you're going to use with the wiring kit. And then you have, I believe, instructions. Let me see. Yep, so some instructions for how the mounting solutions work, what you're going to have with the end mounts or base mounts, Allen keys, and then also which, the different series of light bars and stuff like that, and the steps for the end mounts, and I think the steps here for the base mounts. All right, so that's the bar. This feels very nice. Clearly full aluminum here for the surrounding enclosure. On the front here, you have, sounds like not glass. It's definitely like a plastic, which, I mean, listen, not a problem with that as long as it's a strong plastic. But the aluminum is really good because 1, durability, but 2, also for cooling for the LEDs. That's super important. I haven't dealt with any other company that does LED bars, but I know some can include a plastic housing, and that's not good because you need something to dissipate the heat that these things can throw out. And if you have plastic, that's not going to be necessarily the best at doing that. And these here, the pods. All right, we got some mounting solutions as well for this. Some decent side mounts possibly. Of course, the wiring, that's actually severely bigger and different compared to what's over there. You got also some fuses in here, some butt connectors. But this actually doesn't feel too bad, and it includes double-sided sticky tape already on there. The wiring harness definitely has a bunch to it, which is fantastic. And then same thing with the bare wires, all aluminum and also plastic, but once again, that's fine as long as it's durable. It can take some hits. These are 4-inch size, and this is a 13.5-inch LED bar, and these are 4-inch pod lights. Overall construction looks and feels really good. I honestly have 0 complaints on this. You get a little thank you card here, looks like with a possible code. And it does look like in here you get some instructions with the lights. Let me see here. Just a simple light on for the wiring, which is actually fantastic. Relay, fuse, this all makes sense. This isn't actually too hard once you understand some lighting. Pretty simple. Like I said, you have an additional fuse here, all the connectors, and then with the bolts and nuts that are in here, they have nylon locking nuts with some washers as well. So that's fantastic. And now let's take a look here. So this is the wiring harness that you can get to help connect the light bar, and this one also has a little additional, but as you can see, I guess you could call them butt connectors. I'm not 100% the naming for this, but you know what I mean. You can see it for yourself. That's what we have here for the stuff. Now we're gonna try to figure out where I'm gonna put this and get it all connected. For the pod lights, I'm gonna be putting them right about here. On each side, of course. And then for the For the bar, I was originally thinking just doing and making it easy on myself and putting it here, which honestly, now that I think about it, could work. The only reason I don't want to do this is because I am looking to get an aftermarket grill that has like 2-inch pod lights in it on each side, but I feel like even if it's sitting here, it might not get in the way. Then I was thinking maybe relocating the license plate and putting it in here, but then where do you really relocate the license plate? And then I was thinking maybe doing underneath, but I don't know how that's gonna, I don't know, that now when I see that, that looks a little weird. Don't know if that's what I want to do, if I might just do where the license plate is and relocate that somehow and just move that to a different location. For the mounting solution, I'm going to use pre-existing holes. So underneath here you'll see there's 2 holes right about where I want to hang it. So basically I'm going to get a piece of aluminum that'll allow me to attach it, the pod light here, which is honestly just perfect. However, I am also considering just cutting a hole here, which honestly I don't think should be too bad, and just having the bar within the bumper. Now that might be the smart way of doing it, because then if I do get that new grill, I don't have to worry about that. So I might just do that. It might not come out great because I don't have a steady hand, but honestly I don't really care. Now for the mounting on this, I think I'm going to use the end mounts, and just in case you're not looking at the instructions and you're just following this video, I'm going to be, it's a pretty simple application to put the mount on. These are the side mounts here. Pretty much that's how it sits. This lip sits on the outside, and then you just use the provided hardware, which is this thicker head Allen with a locker washer, and then you can simply just use the provided Allen wrench. Obviously you don't want to tighten it up too much until you have it fully set up. Since I showed you how to do the LED bar, let me show you how to do the actual pod light. Now I'm going to do it a little bit differently than I'm sure the instructions are going to say. I'm thinking this is upside down. It might have to be like this. That shows you how much instructions I'm paying attention. I feel like it should be like this, but I'm going to have it like this mainly because it's going to make it easier for a mounting solution for me. The mount's going to be up top here anyways, and this can sit fully up top. If I had it like this, I couldn't do that. So I'm just going to go this right here, and basically same thing as last time. They include lock washers and a little smaller Allen bolt. And this is the hard way because they do also provide an Allen wrench. But I like to start it by finger first before I start. And that's that. This allows me to, if I need to readjust or whatever, I can go kind of like this if I need to hang it downwards. But right now this is pretty good straight. I don't mind it straight. These are only supposed to be used off-road, and that is how I'm going to use them. So it's not, it doesn't really matter if they're pointed down or not, because I'm not going to use them to blast people's eyes out. I was able to find a piece of aluminum from the hardware store along with bolts that matched the ones that came with the pod lights. These are M8 by 1.25, and the aluminum is a 1.5 inch, 4 foot long, 1.5 inch wide, 1/8 inch thick. I bought everything from Ace. You can go whatever hardware store you like, but Ace has a lot of stainless steel stuff, so that's why I go there. Fun fact though, I didn't realize this until I was buying my stuff, but Nilight provides stainless steel hardware, which is very much appreciated. Thank you, Nilight, because I live in an area where we have snow and also salt, and luckily stainless steel does help resist rust. So hopefully this hardware doesn't rust like most of the rest of the car will. Now what I'm going to do is on the driver's side, I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece of metal using an angle grinder, and I measured it, and I think it was about 3 inches of metal that I need. I might go 3.5 just to make it a little bit slightly longer. I don't want it too long because I don't want it to feel flimsy. Even though this is very thick, at some point there is such thing as it being too long. Let's go about 3.5. A piece of plastic to give me a straight cut, as straight as possible cut here, so I can because I don't know, you know, who needs rulers? Obviously, when using the angle grinder, use some protection, glasses. These are not as thick of a glove as I like to use with an angle grinder, but it'll work for now. Oh, it's hard. Hard to get my arm in there. Should be fine. Just need to get a general mark where I need to drill a hole. And it worked. I love it when things work out. These step bits are one of my favorite things. Just makes everything so much. Okay, let's see if this fits through. Oh yeah, that's perfect. That is perfect. Not the most ideal way of doing this because, man, is it a pain to get your both arms in here. Might have made a small mistake on the length of that bolt. Oh no, we'll be good. But now I do have to adjust that slightest bit for it to be as flat as possible. Well, that's going to be fantastic. I definitely made it slightly longer, but that's perfectly fine. Longer is better than shorter because you can always recut it. You can always cut it shorter, but you can't add length. Well, maybe if you're welding it on, but that's just getting ridiculous. That's good enough. That'll work. I'm okay with that. It's a decent mark, not the best, but it should do. Perfect. Did burr a little bit this. Not the best way of doing it, but if you're curious, this is a 13mm head. And you can actually use the bracket to hold the other nut in place so while you're twisting it doesn't turn. Okay, it's not perfect, but it'll do the job. Now you're looking at this and you're thinking, how are you going to do that? I'm going to use this. Or at least I'm going to attempt it. And then we'll see how it works. And if it doesn't work, well, we'll figure it out. Now that you have a template on this side, you can basically just go on the other side and finish that part up. Make it a little easier on yourself. Easier on yourself. Can always clean that up later, but kind of gives me a starting point of getting that in there. It's actually very, very close. The top here has to be trimmed a little bit. On the bottom, it should fit pretty snug. Now let's hope I don't fully mess it up with the angle grinder. It's pretty good. It's not half bad. Since I've done already that side, I'm not going to bore you doing that side because it's the same process. It's rinse and repeat. But now, let's see if we can focus on this. A lot of people are going to cringe that I'm doing this, but I think this is the best spot. Having it right here in the middle, shooting forward above the license plate. I don't have to worry about relocating the license plate. I don't like how it's set on the bottom. It was too low. And I don't want it to sit up here like I mentioned earlier because of the grill that I'm going to get. It's going to have pod lights in it. So there's just no point of putting it there and then having to worry about redoing it. So I'm going to do it here. But of course, just like we did with that, we're going to see where it sits. We're going to measure to make sure it's as center as possible so it doesn't look off. I'm not the greatest, but that's what we're going to do right now. If I'm basing it off of the license plate, I don't even have to worry about center because as long as this is about, what's that, 3/4 of an inch. So if we do 1 1/4 inches, let's see, from the license plate to the bracket, 1 inch there. It's a little bit tough to do this on your own. About 1 inch and about 1 inch. So right here is actually pretty close. If you're anything like me, and you'll be fine with this, but if you're not like me, you might not like this, and you're gonna wanna do this better than what I'm doing here. That's fairly center. I mean, if I go from here, from the corner or the blinkers, 13.5 on each side, it's literally as center as it's gonna get. Now it's just, I hope I have enough wheel to cut. That's gonna be the biggest thing. I think I have another wheel. If not, just like any other project, you're gonna just have to go to the store again. We'll see. Obviously, you don't want to drill while the light's there. You don't want any of the burrs really trying to get in the light. So, take the light out, put it away. And let's see if I can possibly get to that somehow. Oh man, can it get in there? Oh, it can. Well, this one's lucky. We'll see what happens with the other side. So the problem is the drill starts hitting this. The drill starts hitting this, so it's preventing me from getting the proper size hole. But I guess maybe if I pull it down and give myself a little bit more room, it should work. If you're working on the same vehicle, there's these two tabs right here that you just push down, and it makes the grill pop up a little bit, which should give us plenty of room to put this in. This might be easier with the bumper off, but I can't say for sure. But regardless, this is the way I'm doing it. I'm just a DIYer. So take all this with a grain of salt. I was able to get that bracket on with that final drill that I just did, which is great. Now I'm going to work on this side, same process. I'm just measuring to see how much I need for the attachment to the, this, first of all, let me go back. This is nice because it hides under here. This one unfortunately won't hide as much under there, but so same process. I'm just going to try to make a bracket that'll hold on to underneath the bumper, and then I'm going to make it an L shape to go down to the bracket. So I'm not going to bore you with that, and then we'll get to the wiring process after this. Before doing your wiring, you're going to want to disconnect your battery. You're going to want to take the negative off first and then the positive. Usually you can just do the negative and you should be fine, but I like to do both just in case. As for where I'm going to have the ground and the power and the ground, or the ground, the power, and the relay, that's all going to fit right here. So this is my ground to the chassis, which will work just fine for this. Should be no issues. I can put it on the back there. This is going to be obviously attached to the power underneath. Hopefully it should work, no problem. And then the relay, I'll have somewhere, I don't know, somewhere around here, probably with a zip tie, just to make it work. This is the switch, which goes to the driver's side, of course. And yep, there is a grommet right here, which is very possible that I'm gonna use that to try to get it inside the car. Lucky I changed the terminals up, so I have this nut that I can take off and literally just put that underneath. That should be perfect. And then, yeah, it looks like the ground should reach over here without any issues. Jesus. Did Hulk put that on or what? I upgraded my ground wire that goes to my chassis because the other one from Toyota in the 1997 was tiny and short. So I just picked one up from my local store and just got a nicer, thicker one, longer. Now you're just gonna put your connector on there, crimp it. I exposed the wire a little bit more so I can bend it over, because I feel like the thinner the wire, the less contact it's gonna have with the actual connector when you crimp it. And yeah, there we go. Black to black and yellow to yellow. The blue does all go over the clear, if you're curious. The blue goes over the clear for the coverage. I also am gonna, I think, put something over this just so it's not exposed. Obviously, this is just a test run. I'm not gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna just route it within the bumper, zip tie it and all that. But right now, I just wanna make sure these things work. Okay, so these are, so it has there's two buttons here. As you can see, that's full blast. That's just the light bar. There's a light, yeah, the camera's not gonna catch this. Here, there's this bar, and then there's the 4 lights. So this is the bar. Yeah, the camera's gonna, it's too bright for the camera. And then these are the 4 lights. And this is all 4, or both turned on. You can hear the relay working on the 4 lights. Actually, on the bar, you can't really hear the relay, but on the 4 lights, you can. Oh man, that's a whole different level of brightness. I'm actually just gonna, I already did it with the LED bar a little bit. I'm gonna route the wires right here where there's a little opening. There's a slight hole right down there by the headlight. And I'm just routing the wires through there. And then I'm literally gonna tuck them here by the battery with some zip ties. And that should be good. I'm also putting shrink wrap over the connectors so that way, just to help it a little bit more of being protected against the outdoors. And I'm also gonna use dielectric grease. Once I connect everything together, I'll put the dielectric grease over where the fittings are and then put the heat shrink over, and that should hopefully protect it as much as possible. Is this all necessary? I can't say for sure. There's no, I haven't looked up any instructions. I'm not a wiring guy, but even if it's not, there's no such thing as it being bad for being overcautious on this stuff. It's just good to help protect. Remember, don't sit on it too long. You don't want it to destroy any wiring, but just enough to shrink the heat shrink. Now that everything's all done with the wiring, I'm going to put this protective loom on there just to help it a little bit more in being protected. There's already a pretty thick, I guess, loom, if you want to call it, on there, but it's plastic. or not plastic, but it's like a very thin rubber or whatever you want to call it. I want to put this just for additional protection, because honestly, I don't want to have to deal with wiring if something does happen. All right, that was not that bad, but not fun either. So I routed that underneath here. Now, of course, I got to take these bolts out, but I'm trying to do everything as hard as possible. Underneath the driver's side by the pedals, you can see that grommet is right about here. I'm going to try to push it out with this pry bar because it's pretty in there. I know I'm going to hate myself later because I'm sure it's not going to want to come back in. But if I got a good chunk of it out, I can probably make a better hole to route those in. Nicking a wire, that's part of the OBD2. That's all would horribly go wrong. I see it. Here it is. There it is. Now we got one more and we're almost done. Just trying to figure out how to get it to fit in here as good as possible without having the wire hang. There's this little hanger here. Let me just have it right here. I think that's the overall good plan right there. And just clean this area with some, I'm gonna use alcohol just to get a good clean surface, and then attach this and hold it there for about a minute, and then it should fit. I use alcohol because, one, it evaporates pretty quickly. It dries off, should I say, pretty fast. I don't know if I've never actually looked into it, if it's a good thing to use on plastics or not. It doesn't look like it's damaged the plastic at all. And then we're just gonna do that. Oh, these are the worst. If you don't have nails like me, these can be a pretty big pain. I'm just gonna find some place to zip tie this. It's gonna be hard to get it on camera, but there's always a spot to do it in. And sometimes, honestly, you don't even have to, because the way everything is just simply set up. Hold up the wire better, which then just simply makes things easier. I don't even actually, that's fantastic. This trim right here presses against this plastic, I'm not sure what it is, and then so holds up the wire on its own. It looks like that's actually going to work really well. I don't even have to zip tie. That's fantastic. I feel like that's the smart move. But can I make the hole right where it actually fits properly? Because it fitting through there is fine. Can I drill the right size hole for it? Now the biggest thing is this. I really want to take these off, but I'm really worried it's just going to destroy the plug. Okay, that actually helped. Man, it is on there. I highly recommend using some pliers, because, man, trying to do that by hand was impossible, and I definitely felt like I was going to destroy it. I got to remember The gold is black, middle was white, and then red. I'm gonna continue to use this step bit, but I am gonna have to go up because this goes only up to a 1/2 inch. And this, where it clips, where these clips are, is definitely gonna be bigger than a 1/2. But first I'm gonna do that and then go from there. Honestly, there's this thing that says ABS right here. I'm just gonna go on the center of the B. That should be about center of the plastic. And just, yeah, that should work. Ooh, we're almost there. It might actually be a 3/4. Okay, so that's good. But is it just slightly, the hole is slightly too whole. It wasn't just that tab preventing it. It does need a little bit of more work. Slightly bigger. Oh, maybe too big. Man, that just went through there. It's not great. I went just a little bit more than I should have, but it'll work. I know this is going to bother me that it's moving around, so I'm going to glue it in. For the adhesive I'm using, it's the JB Weld Super Weld Extreme. Here's the thing, I've never used the Extreme. I've used the JB Weld Super Weld, no Extreme, and it is absolutely amazing. Like this part where it says World's Strongest Bond, that's not joke for the regular stuff. So I can only imagine what the Extreme does. This stuff is amazing. According to the package, this can pretty much work with anything. And I can confirm that it definitely works with any plastic that I've used it on yet. So no complaints here. I'm gonna put this in here. And then I'm just gonna let that center. There we go. And I'm just gonna let it bond. It shouldn't take too long. I'm gonna let it sit for a few hours, but it should bond pretty good pretty quickly. Shouldn't be too much of an issue at all. If for some reason I didn't apply good enough and it doesn't stick, I'll come back to it later, but I don't see that being an issue. Now that the inside is done and everything else is done, it's time to take this thing for a little spin and see how they work. All right. Super excited that this is done. This took 5 years, or at least that's what it felt like, but it just took a lot of hours. But it feels like a long time just because everything likes to go bad. But enough about that. The lights, the kit. Actually, super happy with the kit. I have no complaints whatsoever about it. The fact that the switches are there, the wiring seems to be very tough and in durable shape. The lights seem very durable, so really no complaints there. Cannot complain. The switches, the only problem with the switches from what I can tell is they do not light up, so you kind of know where they are beforehand. That is really the biggest thing, but honestly that's a minor complaint. All right, This is my favorite spot. As you guys know, I come here when I do LEDs, and nice white fence in front of us. These are my regular lights. Not that bright, they're just halogen lights with regular non-projector headlight assembly, basically 90s technology. Here is the light bar. Yeah, safe to say that's pretty bright. Here is the, now this is the pod lights, but this is just that little line. As you can see, it doesn't really, you can actually use it for fog lights because it's lights up a little bit, but not much. But here is the pod lights when the 4 actual LEDs are, not the bar, and then this is all 4. You really can't tell a difference when the that little bar in the pod lights is on, but they do bright up. Honestly, I know they're bright. You could probably get away with using them as fog lights, but do not, please do not. But once again, pod lights with light bar, yeah. Turning off my regular lights, that's awesome. As I mentioned before, you're only supposed to use these when you're not on any kind of road that might have drivers on it. Like for instance, you don't want to be driving this, you don't want to be blinding this driver that's coming up. But if you are, let's say, doing some back road driving where there's literally nobody and there's no actual lights for street lighting, then yeah, you definitely can turn that on. I don't have anybody in front of me, so let's just see real quick. Oh man, that blasts all the way down. Wow, that blasts all the way to the hill where you just can't see anymore. Pod lights, they're actually not crazy bright, so you could potentially run them. Mine are facing like this, so they're kind of in the other directions towards the sidewalks, I guess, if you want to call them, towards where the like bikers or people walking, running, where they would be on the sidewalk. So I'm actually really happy with the way that turned out. Now, can you make all of this look better and be better? Absolutely. I did a little bit rush. I'm always strapped for time, so I have to do it as quickly as I possibly can, and that is not the best way of doing it's not the best way of doing any kind of installation on your vehicle. But if you have some time, you can definitely take more time and make everything look a lot cleaner, figure out better mounting solutions and so on. I'm perfectly happy with the way it is right now, just because, as I mentioned, I am going to be changing out the bumpers at some point, so it doesn't bother me whatsoever. I'm just happy I have the additional lighting. And here we go, everybody's gone. Yeah, I mean, that right there is gonna be huge when I go to like back roads that have no lighting, or oh my god, it goes all the way to a traffic light. I feel bad for that person. If that person turned any sooner before I turned it off, it would have been super bright. Let's see, actually, let's go right down here. So it's always dark back here. So you can see where that building is lit up, but there's nothing in front of us. These are the pod lights. These are you can barely tell, but these are just, it hits a sign over there, but it's not bright enough for the camera, I think, to pick it up. And then this is the LED bar, and this is the pod lights, wood bar, and now headlights, which honestly, the headlights are irrelevant when the LED bar is on. I'm super happy. I cannot complain. Nilight is making a really good product for the money. I know products like this can definitely cost way more in price, so kudos to them for what they are providing for the money. I will say also super awesome that they are providing stainless steel hardware for the mounting solution. That I cannot express how awesome that is, especially if you live in areas like I do. If you are that person, you understand what I'm talking about. But honestly, that's it for this one. I hope it helped you. I hope it helped you both on understanding somewhat of the installation process, how the actual hardware is, how the lights are. It's always hard to capture this stuff on camera, but it definitely, if you want to take my word at it, I can say for sure worth it. If you are looking to purchase a LED pod and LED pod setup with an LED light bar, you really can't go wrong here. I will be hopefully getting some more at some point, because I do want to be able to light up behind me as well when I'm somewhere, you know, once again off-roading or somewhere middle of nowhere where there's no lighting whatsoever. Like right here, there's no lights. This is definitely a busy road. I think I would blind the person that's literally like a mile away. But yeah, super bright. Just, yeah, that's it. I hope, once again, this helped you. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.